Josue. First,
Encouraged.
how were you encouraged most by this passage of sermon?
Well, the greatness of Christ over that fact that we see so amazing things are amazing before, but today is even better, and we don't see that, but it's better. The presence of God with us all the time.
Okay, cool. Cindy?
Yeah, man, thank you.
Oh, maybe I should have went up.
You wanna go?
No, we'll start here.
What encouraged me was your line. If we're His, we are always in His presence, and living in light of that is the critical piece. So, thank you for that.
Thanks, brother, for the word. Very encouraging, particularly that God leads His people through the best path, and it's not always the quickest, easiest path, but the right path. That was encouraging.
Yeah, I think I was most encouraged by the idea that it doesn't make sense all the time, right? But it's actually the right thing, and that it's going to work.
Yeah, I was really encouraged by God as leader. I think I tend to conceptualize leadership merely in human terminology. And this actually helped me as a follower of Christ my leader. This text helped me understand how to do that better and what He's doing as He leads me.
I was encouraged that you had the destination so powerful in your sermon as well. Like, we are being led home.
Right.
And I thought that was super powerful and super good. Encouraging.
Yeah, it was encouraging as you talked about the Israelites being equipped in verse 18. Although they were equipped, it wasn't like we have to remember God's leadership. So for just us, wanting to grow, be more equipped as ministry leaders, just really preaching to us of, hey, we can be equipped, but we need to remember to depend upon the Lord and, as you said, humble ourselves upon Him and seek Him.
Yeah, I was particularly helped by several things, but this whole idea of God leading you even though you're ill-equipped or unprepared. You ask the question, do you ever feel prepared for ministry? And that just resonated with me because from the time I started in pastoral ministry particularly, even to this day, there are times where I just feel that God made a mistake picking me, and over again, even though I'm ill-equipped and underprepared, He always guides me in the right way to go. And some of the decisions that have to be made is always. So that was tremendously encouraging. And the way you put it was well said.
Yeah.
All right, so anything that you were working on that you felt like, I wish I could do that one again.
Give a title. I gave one, but I didn't even share it. It was just God's leadership. I feel like but I felt like my title was my same argument, and also I didn't have pretty good introduction and conclusion. Those I think I lack from that.
Yeah, on the intro piece, I thought you were deliberately just dropping in, but now that you say, I get your problem, so maybe just a short sentence. If you are just dropping in, why are you dropping in? So it was a jarring beginning. It was like God is leading His people. Whoa! Straight into the text, So maybe just a if you are going to drop in, if you're making that decision,
Mm-hmm.
say why, to kind of help us.
Good.
This is tough because I thought the sermon was so well done. So any feedback I give is kind of, as Bondin would say Thursday, Friday, good to great sort of material, because I thought this was really, really good. But I'll just stay on that front. I wonder if there's a way to bolster the sermon, to hang it on some illustration or a way that would help us apply it more. I mean, it's very practical. I mean, it's very very pictured here, God's presence. It's a physical picture, right? The fire, the pillar. But I wonder if there's a way to hang it for us that will help us apply it a little bit more.
Yeah. So I thought that while you did a decent job of interacting with your notes for what you did, you read too much. There's a couple times where you didn't have a good pause. You had a, oh shoot, where am I pause? Right? So there were some good pauses throughout, but there were some times where you're like in the middle of kind of a paragraph or something, you just kind of like, and you can see you're kind of scanning the page,
Right.
like, where am I?
Right.
So
You notice it.
because it ruined the flow of what you were doing. Right? So, oh, this is really good, then it just kind of be like,
Keep that.
All-seeing eye.
yeah, not much gets past me.
We're looking at you.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of emphasize what you said, which was especially your conclusion. I didn't feel like you knew it as well as, for example, I'm sure you'll hear about your gospel connection. And so it just felt choppy. It was like smooth sailing, and I was like, where are we going? Okay, we're done.
Right.
So you explained that they were going to the Red Sea for him to part the Red Sea. But what I think would have helped if you took the context a little farther back to show like God was bringing them to the promised land, like just using context in that, specifically for that, because I think it would have helped your gospel connection even more, because you brought home out and heaven out, but if you shown that they were going to the promised land, and then you could have said even, we're not going to just some land, we're going to heaven, so could have been even more powerful, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you brought up some good application questions, but helping us to see that, just fleshing that out. You know, like you're talking about recognizing, following his leadership, being aware of his presence. You know, so fleshing that out, asking questions. You know, do you submit to his leadership? You know, as you lead your people, as you are, you know, preaching the word, as you are leading meetings, you know, all these different examples.
Perfect. That makes sense. Yeah.
I'm in agreement with all that's been said already, so I will be repeating a lot here if I said everything I wrote down. But I felt that although the applications were good, I felt that they were premature.
Yeah.
So you gave your applications up front, even before you gave explanation to the passage. They were good. They resonated rather, but they were early on, where those applications really could have driven home heavier on the back end.
Just one more thing. So in the first point, you mentioned God. He leads us his own path. And then at the end, when you're amplifying your sermon, you come back to the Spirit leading us, but then you kind of don't clarify the path.
Right.
So I thought it would have been a good opportunity to bring back the part where we talk about how exactly he's leading us all the way home. So that could make it better, maybe.
Yeah, even if I could just add to that, even if it is as you transition between the points, just to restate, that you're headed in a particular direction, and it just reinforces your argument.
That I'll steal Soup's phrase, the premature applications. I thought you were going to use it maybe a different way, because one thing you did, I think it was in your second point, talked about how God is with us all the time, and it felt like, I mean, it's a good application, but I also felt like it's an application from your gospel connection. So I mean, not that it's wrong or not that you could still do it there. I just wonder, like, is it best to have that before or after the gospel connection as a reflection, a theological reflection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm assuming that people knows about the gospel already, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, they're pastors, they know about this.
Yeah, which is why it's not like
Y'all should know
That's
that.
why we need
No,
it.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the Red Sea thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was very clean. It's kind of like what Eric was talking about with the conclusion, where you kind of stumbling around. It didn't feel like. And you also didn't need. My big thing is you didn't need it,
Mm-hmm.
because your main point was they didn't know where God was leading them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's really the key,
Mhm.
right? So it doesn't make sense. They don't really know where they're going. That's all you need. So you didn't need to bring in the Red Sea stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could have done that Red Sea stuff cleaner. But even if you could have done it cleaner, you still don't need it,
Right.
because it doesn't add anything to this
Mm-hmm.
to make the point you're trying to make, which I think was good.
Mm-hmm.
You were super clear, just not smooth on your transitions kind of all the
Mhm.
way through. Whenever you move from a major movement to the
Mhm.
next, it was just boom, done.
Right.
So, similar to what Max was saying, but a little different. That application where you started talking about how God is always with us, and then you started into your third point with God is always leading us.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just in my head, I'm like, oh, these are kind of the same thing, even though I don't think they are. Once I was thinking about it
Mhm.
more, but it seemed like because it's always with us, always leading us, always there,
Mhm.
kind of conflated between the 2 points, which is
Got it.
good.
Mm-hmm. It is different, but
Maybe-
probably didn't explain it really good.
Yeah, maybe it could be a little bit more, for
Mhm.
me, helpful, I guess, to
Yeah.
explain the differences better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Jeremy said maybe you didn't need the Red Sea to mention that, but since you did, it seemed like it would have been a great moment since you talked about, hey, this is one of the most majestic display of God's glory, to kind of build it up and like recite it. Remember, like, God parted the Red Sea. He's showing his power over creation, destroying his enemies. You know, you could have like built it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So everything that I've written has been said. This is sucks about being last, but I want to I want to reiterate this because it's a soup thing. Titles and introductions matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It kind of pulls people close to you.
Mm-hmm.
It'll connect with them off the top of your sermon, especially in a time now where leadership in our culture, it was a great way for you to connect to the culture. Leadership in our culture is so critical to how we get through this season.
Right.
And improper leadership or bad leadership can lead people to destruction,
Mm-hmm.
and good leadership can lead people, to safety and well-being and such. And so, like, something along the lines of that needed to be stated because it's an opportunity that's just right there in light of how you're arguing this, for you to speak to what is relevant and current that people are dealing with today, especially pastors in their leadership, in their local congregations. Improper leadership in that
Mm-hmm.
could have literally been a great way for you to minister to this pastoral context.
So that would be so much more helpful. Yeah, for sure. Introduction like that.
Okay, so what did you feel that? Hey, you know what? This is working for me. What did you like?
I struggled a lot with the gospel connection, very much.
Oh.
For a week, I think. And then I asked Jeremy, and he helped me. And so
Trust me, he didn't help you like
Pastors always
like
steal.
people would want to help.
Well,
you. Like,
I get-
he wanted, he didn't do. He
But, o sea, I mean, the point is, I understood. The thing is, like, it's not like he told me like the
That's
whole.
what I mean.
But
He
I
acted
understood how to connect it,
Mhm.
you know, and I was, oh, okay. So I feel like I'm capable to do it better in other passages because I was struggling a lot and basically even since the beginning starting to do almost all the time the same gospel connection, you know. John 1 all the time. Yeah, so
You gotta cash in, bro.
I think that was something I learned this time.
Good. Well, I thought you explained this text well.
Mm.
So particularly through his presence, point 2, which was fogging the heck out of my mind when I did the worksheet. But I felt like because of your explanation, I understood the text.
Mm-hmm.
Because you said very simply, it's not this, it's not this. Visitation was your link with Genesis, and that was it. So, well done, bro.
I mean, I thought you gave us up front the argument and the points, and they were clean and connected. Both, like, all of that was clean, simple wording, and entirely connected. And, yeah, so then it was just follow through, and you carried us throughout. But up front, it was set up really, really well.
Yeah. You should have just, instead of saying without ceasing, just said perpetually, and it would have been over. Right?
Yeah.
That third P in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I thought that you did a really great job on kind of your on-ramp to the gospel connection.
Yes.
In the sense that you spoke poetically. You guys all have to like, wouldn't it be great, right? So you problematized the mess out of our current situation. Wouldn't it have been great to be there?
Yeah.
Right? Then, like at one point you said like to feel the heat from
Yeah,
the
that
pillar
was
of
sick,
fire.
dude.
I was just like, oh come on,
Dude.
If you did it, and then you just kind of dropped it on us. We could see where it was going the whole way, right? It's like watching the wave come. You're like, I know it's coming, right? I know it's coming. And you just,
Dude, that was sick.
It was so good.
Yeah, like that was good news, like what you were preaching. And it felt like we were all fans on the same team and someone just had like a major play. Or like someone just hit a walk-off home run and we were all just going nuts. Like, dude, that was sick.
Completely agree.
And continuing with that, like, and you didn't, and I mean, some people probably have trouble with, you started with the Spirit, but then you went back to Jesus, and the reason why, how his work was important in that, and I was like, oh, he got it. He did it. It's there. So good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how you did the order of the Spirit, because I feel like most people would go to Jesus first, because then he sends the Spirit. But you're like, no, he gives the Spirit, and then you were saying something had to happen
Right.
for this to happen.
yeah.
Started with the end, worked backwards.
Yeah, so my feedback is based on other sermons that I've heard from you this term. And what I wrote down was great adjustment in pace,
Yep.
tone, and passion.
Oh yeah.
So you were if you had just written a full introduction and then summarized your whole thing,
Yeah.
this would have been a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But the pace, the tone, and I really felt as you were preaching that you believed
Right.
what you were preaching.
Right.
Like you argued to the point of belief, and that comes through no matter what. Like that passion is hard to fake. You can't fake passion, bro. Great job. So then you got one more for us?
Trying to think of something else that hasn't been said yet. There was a moment where, so I'll keep harping on this point, but I liked how you landed that second point piece of through his presence, where you're explaining how the function of the text. So you're teaching us how to read our Bibles while you're teaching us the Bible. So you said, well, all this is doing is that the time has come. So that's when the peace kind of landed for me. And I was like, wow, he really knows what he's doing. And help us kind of adjust to that second point. So that was a really strong one for me. Thank you, man.
This is something small that no one else has done in this room before, at least that I can remember, that I think it was just helpful for me, and it was interesting. You gave your argument, and then you said, I'm going to read, and I want you to notice how God is leading his people. It's just like, yeah, it worked for me, at least, because I was engaged. I was reading curiously through the Word, through the lens of your argument, which helped the rest of the time. So it was unique, and it worked for me. I thought it was really strong.
Yeah. I thought you had this great little, like, triplet where you were like, is it possible for, like, a father to, like, be a father but not lead his kids and all this kind of, be there for his kids or whatever, and you used a couple other ones. So you're using that, and at first I was like, wait, what is he talking about? And then you just kind of flipped the entire thing on its head and go, that's not what God's doing here. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's sick. So I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, I didn't write them all down, but you had a couple of good, just one-liner, humorous things. Weren't like rolling around on the floor, but it's like, oh, that was funny. You know, one of them was something about like, you didn't say, here's the path, I'll be back next week.
Right.
So,
Obedient playfulness.
yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody mentioned, at least in the positive section, but I think your applications were, although maybe at the wrong time or could be more full, but I think they were really personable. They were to the audience that you were trying to speak to, and I thought they were very challenging and convicting, so and comforting. So
Yeah, I liked how you help us see that it was God leading his people all the time, day and night. He was there, and just helping us see that and encourage us in that.
Yeah, I completely agree. My last one is ratcheting up what Nathan said about your application. The fact that you did it with questions. And it just allows your hearer to think with you through your work. And you ask these questions, and it's like, oh yeah, God is with us. I guess I am kind of silly for thinking, that, I can't do this. If God is with me, of course I can. Yeah. And so it was great. It was great all the way around. The obedient playfulness, I put that down because, man, just to see you comfortable
it was fun.
Enough to laugh with us, and even when it's a challenging word that needs to be spoken, to have some fun with it. I think it made it drive into our hearts a little bit better. Great job, man. You are you're a bona fide expositor now.